certainly when I've got questions or trying to decide something or work something out or understand something, I try to let go of my brain, which, so often when it's trying to understand something throws all sorts of other artifacts in. Things in the past, things in the future, worries, concerns, beliefs. Oh my God, right? And we desperately try to make everything mean something. Whereas when you go down into the Dantian, you stop trying to make anything mean anything. And you just feel into the resonant frequency of it. And it's like, okay, where do I need to be next? Where is the energy asking me to be? What is it asking me to do? And where is the most harmonic place I can be? And everything becomes more peaceful. And then slowly the information rises into the heart, and you can start feeling the emotion of it and creating a vortex of beautiful energy, which is what the heart does. And then allow that to go into the head. And then what generally happens is that information is way more peaceful for a start. It's less cluttered, and therefore we can then get the brain to walk towards the practical actions to do whatever it is we need to do based on that information.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Galactic Guidance. And here I am with Marcus Bird, who channels a high dimensional being called Ameed from an advanced star system. Hey, Marcus.
Beautiful. Hey, Eleni, how are you?
I'm good.
That's
I'm excited
good.
to
That's
speak
good.
to Ameed.
Absolutely.
Cannot
As
wait
always.
until you connect in, and I love having
We'll
these
see what happens.
conversations with our
Yeah,
off-world
conversations are
friends.
good. Yes, it is. It's very good. So
whenever
ready?
you're ready,
Yes.
we
Okay.
get right into it here at Galactic Gardens.
Oh,
We
absolutely. Let's
don't
dive
bother
into
with
it.
any chit chat. We just connect
Nah,
right in, start the channeling.
Just get going, I think, is the key, isn't it? All right.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
And so what Marcus is doing now is he's connecting into his spirit guide, Ameed, who is a high dimensional being from the Lyra Star System, however you like to say it. And she's a female energy that comes in and speaks to us on a regular basis. If you want to understand as to how Marcus became this conduit to a higher realm, have a look at episode 1 where he explains his story, and it's quite fascinating. And he's been doing this for the last 30 odd years. So it's a relationship that's been formed a long time ago.
There's a much of the joyness that we are being in of this, much of the sacred moment, Miss Eleni, a much of the sacred moment. We are much of the excitement to be here in of this moment.
I am much of the excitement too to have this conversation with you, Ameed. I have got a question this week that I thought that I might ask you, which is, sometimes I know that there's no questions and you just lead the way, and we'll just see where this goes. But the question is, in this phase of our human evolution, it seems to be very much a transition type phase where we still have a lot of the old ways of doing life on our planet, and there are many people excited to embark on the new ways of doing life. And many people who are speaking as light workers, way showers, they still play in the old system in order to be seen, in order to be heard, in order to get the audience that they need to, because we're not entirely in the new system. But from a personal perspective, the old system and the way that it's done really just doesn't resonate with me. I'm no longer aligned to it. And so because of that, I feel like I'm not playing in the arena at all, because I don't want to do it the old way. If it's either the new way or no way. And so is this way of thinking and perception limiting to those of us who do not want to do anything with within the old system and only want to do it within the new system?
There is a much that is being in of the transitioning and in of the what you be calling of the transformation. Many being what you call of the caughtness, being of the trappedness between one of a dimension of reality and another of the dimension of reality. What is of the most of the importance is that you are making of the choice which of the dimensions that you wish to be of the existing in, and then be transmitting from this space back into other dimensions of reality, which are in the process of the shifting and of maybe you'll be thinking of the breaking down and transforming and of the transcending and of the dissolving. That process is still being taking of time to be in of the creation, and in of the factness that some parts of this may never actually be of the disappearing. What you will be finding is when of the majority has been in of the transition, then you will feel like that more expanded dimension will have been now in of the full of the operation. What you will be seeing, much of the shortness is more of the transition into this more expanded dimensional of the reality scape, and you will be feeling more comfortable that you can be spending more of the time there, and you will be having to move into the what you're calling of the old dimension. So it is important that you are be acting from the dimension that you wish to be of the experiencing in, and then much like you are doing on of the holiday, you go visiting of the other dimension, but then you come back into of the expanded dimension, and you spend most of your time in of that expanded dimension. In of that expanded dimension, what you must be of the remembering is that this is of a much more of the expanded resonant nature, where more of the activity is happening within the awareness of the resonant nature of the reality scape. In of the new of the dimension, you are living, being of the required to live more in of the Dantian space than in of the head space. What you will be seeing in denser of the realities is more of a mindscape existence, whereas in the more of the expanded reality scapes, you will be seeing more of a Dantian, or what you'll be calling, what we are be calling a resonance scape existence and of the reality. And so you are in the process of transitioning from of the mindscape into the resonance scape or the gutscape. And this is of the fundamental nature of the what you might be calling of the flip. And you will be seeing more of the transition be happening over in the not too of the distant future. But you must be living in of the expanded state and then be visiting the not so much of the expanded state like you are being going on of the holiday. And just be in there visiting and be doing what you need to be of the doing, but always holding much of the expanded of the resonant state of beingness.
So you're saying that the state that we want to be in is the state we need to act in. So you're saying that we're not blocking ourselves by refusing to engage in the old way of being.
This is not of the block, but it is also being of the understanding that you must be visiting that what you're calling of the old resonant state of the beingness, because there are still of the activities, some of the many of the practical activities that are being experienced in that state, that are being requested within that state. There are still many of the constructs. And what you will be finding is that if you imagine that you are building or shifting or renovating of the building, that it is easy to move of the furniture, but very hard to be moving of the foundations. And those foundations taking many of the time to shifting and being of the changing. So what you are thinking is that when you are coming back into more of the restricted dimensional state, many of the foundational aspects of of the society, of the creation, are taking many of the times to shift and to be of the moving. But if you are holding of the expanded dimensional state, then that will be of the helping of the foundations to be shifting and of the moving. One thing you will be of the sureness of is that they will be of the shifting and the moving. They cannot not be of the shifting and the moving. because all of the dimensions are moving and are of the expanded nature of the reality scape. This is the nature of the universe in and of itself. Therefore, all of these aspects either will be in the movingness or they will be in the not so much of the destroyingness, but they will be much of the left behind. And in of the lefting of the behind, that dimensional construct will be of the disappearing from your reality scape. And then eventually you will just be living in of the more expanded reality scape. This is what will be of the happening.
Is there anything else that you would like to add about anything else, Ameed?
One of the much of the most important aspects in this of the moment to be of the experiencing is the shifting of how you are being of the processing of your reality scape. What has been of the happening in the density that you have been of the existing in is there has been much of the movement and of the focus to be existing within the mindscape of the reality, rather than being of the dropping into the what we were calling the Dantian scape or the resonance scape of the reality. And part of your shift, part of the assistance in the shift for you to be stepping into the more expanded dimensional state is to be starting to be of the processing of all of your information through the resonance scape or the Dantian scape of existence, then be of the allowing that information to filter up into the heartscape, allowing the heartscape to catalyze and spin up the information that then gets passed on to the mindscape. In this situation, what you will be understanding is more of the reality. This will help you to shift much more of the quickness. Because there is only one way to fully be of the assessing of the reality scape, and that is by processing of the truthness through of the Dantian scape. One of the things that you must be of the understanding is that your mind at the Dantian space, at the what we are calling of the resonance scape, is much tuned into sensing truth or of the untruth, and therefore it is wishing to resonate with of the truthness. Truthness is a more harmonic resonant state. Untruthness is a disharmonic of the resonant state, and your Dantian space is specifically of the tune to sense into harmonic or disharmonic resonant states. Once it is sensing of the resonant state, it can then pass that information onto the heartscape. Then the emotions can be connecting into this harmonic or of the disharmonic state and be sending that information into of the mindscape so that the mindscape can then take off the action and do whatever it is that you are needing to do to sit more in of the truthscape and more in of the harmonic state. What has been happening in this lower of the density is that you are taking information in through the mindscape, and the mindscape is not of the goodness to be able to understand the truthness of the untruthness. It is much too easier to be manipulated or to be influenced. And it is going to be believing whatever it is of the hearing. And it is doing this because if you are taking the information through of the resonance scape and into the heartscape is helping the mindscape to understand what is of the truthness and what is of the untruthness, what is of the resonant harmonic versus the disharmonic. But when it is coming directly into of the mindscape cannot be of the understanding of the truthness or of the untruthness. It can only be acting on the information that it is being of the scent. Therefore, it is very much of the easiness to be influenced, to be what you'd be thinking of cursed, to be distracted, influenced into of its belief. Therefore, you cannot be in of the expansion if you are staying in of this space, because you will be believing things that are of the untruth and not be able to be in the discernment of what is of the truth and what is of the untruth. Whereas if you are starting to be of the flip nature and you are starting to be more of the connected to the Dantian space, to this what you'd be calling of the gutness space, then you are much more of the sensitive nature to be understanding what is of the truthness and what is of the untruthness. remembering that truthness and of the untruth is related to of the resonant frequency field of harmonic versus of the disharmonic. What you are considering from a mindscape point of view of what is of the truth and what is of the untruth is not necessarily the reality that we are being of the speaking of. But when you are in of the Dantian space and you can be connecting into the resonant fields of harmony versus disharmony, you can then be connected much more to of the truthness, because this is of the reality of the universal experience. Is that you are much of the tune to move towards of the harmonic resonant state and be moving of the awareness of the disharmonic resonant state. But when you are caught in of the mindscape, you are not able to discern what is of the truthness and what is of the untruthness. Then you are left to your own of the devices of what you are believing is of the truth or believing is of the untruth, not necessarily being given of the access to what is absolutely of the truthness. So therefore, what is of the resonant harmonic nature of the reality scape. You can be of the convinced in a mindscape situation that something is harmonic or disharmonic. But given the same information in at the Dantian space, in at the resonant scape space, there is only of the oneness of the harmonic or a oneness of the disharmonic. There are not what you might calling of the grayness. There is only of the absolute of the truthness of harmonic or of the disharmonic. Therefore, you become much more expanded. You will become much more harmonic. Then you will be finding that even of the foundations of your reality in itself will start to shift and of the bend and move into the next dimension of reality. And you will then be able to collectively move into that space. And I know you will be feeling much more of the happiness and much more of the joyness when this is able to be of the possibility.
Thank you, Ameed. I really appreciate your guidance today about truths and untruths, harmony and disharmony.
Much of the joyness, much of the love. Hello.
How did that feel for you?
It was good. Yeah.
Good.
How was it for you?
Good. It's yeah, I was asking about, I see many people who are energetically connected in,
Yeah.
and who are aware and who are conscious, but they're still playing in the old games, and they're doing well because this is where we're at,
Yeah.
from a transition space, that the old 3D matrix is still available.
Yeah. Totally.
And so, because I don't want to play in that game at all, I was wondering whether that was like a form of resistance. But
Yeah.
from what Ameed said, it's not. It's like basically we just need to get out of the mind in terms of the thinking and the
Yeah.
stories we create. And
Yeah. Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, she's talked to me quite a bit about this, but, coming from a different space, it's a bottom-up approach rather than a top-down approach. And I think, we've been using the mind for things that it's not designed to be used for. And therefore we keep getting deceived. We deceive ourselves, we get deceived by others because the brain's not designed to
Discern.
correct. It's just not. It's designed to take an action based on whatever it's hearing, right? So so it's not discerning whether what it's hearing is real or not real, true or not true. It's just taking an action based on it. So it's theoretically trying to get its information from our gut and our heart. But the problem is, if we take the information from our head and drive it into our heart or drop it into our heart, the heart's now got the wrong information because it's filtered through a incorrect belief or truth or untruth. Whereas when the information comes from the gut, it is more pure around truth and untruth. Therefore, when it comes into the heart, it's more pure around truth or untruth. Then when it filters to the head, there's a clear direction, right? And there's a clear reality. and then we are guided to take better actions or do, more effective things to step into the next dimension or still work with an old dimension. But we're able to expand further, and it's going to lead us to be happier and more in harmony with the universe. Therefore, that dimension is going to be more effective. And the better we can do this, the more expanded the next dimension becomes. Because the next dimension, all dimensions are consciousness sort of dimensions, right? And as we expand consciously, we expand into the next dimension. So it's really important that we start to get this so that we can, be in that dimension and create more of that in our reality. And untruth, in those dimensions, as we expand dimensions, less and less of untruth can exist.
So you, Marcus, how do you get the mind out of the way?
I meditate, I drop into my Dantian whenever possible. Certainly when I've got questions or trying to decide something or work something out or understand something, I try to let go of my brain, which, so often when it's trying to understand something throws all sorts of other artifacts in. Things in the past, things in the future, worries, concerns, beliefs. Oh my God, right? And we desperately try to make everything mean something. Whereas when you go down into the Dantian, you stop trying to make anything mean anything, and you just feel into the resonant frequency of it. And it's like, okay, where do I need to be next? Where is the energy asking me to be? What is it asking me to do? And where is the most harmonic place I can be? And everything becomes more peaceful. And then slowly the information rises into the heart, and you can start feeling the emotion of it and creating a vortex of beautiful energy, which is what the heart does. And then allow that to go into the head. And then what generally happens is that information is way more peaceful for a start. It's less cluttered, and therefore we can then get the brain to walk towards the practical actions to do whatever it is we need to do based on that information.
So going back to what you said about the Dantian, because that's the first thing you said, I just go into the Dantian. For those who don't really understand what you mean by that, can you just explain the?
Yeah. So the Dantian is sort of this sacred space, 2 finger widths below your belly button, generally is where it sits. Martial artists sort of talk about the center of your being. They talk about the Dantian as the center of your being, so that, and I haven't done martial arts, but from all of the martial artists I've spoken to, they set their energy at the Dantian because it is the center of your body. It's much easier to pivot from that space. You're much more grounded and solid, and because you're in perfect balance with your body, right? So it's that balance place.
So you just
And
imagine that you go there. Is that what you
yeah, I
do?
just drop my consciousness in and give focus to that space. Some of the ways you can also do it is imagine there's a room there, right? And go be in the room of the Dantian, right? And often I'll guide people into dropping down through their body. And then when they get to the Dantian, seeing a beautiful door with a beautiful handle and opening the door and stepping inside and spending time in that space. Some people often sort of see a pyramid and go into their pyramid through the Dantian space. And in a practical sort of day-to-day moment, what I tend to do is when something starts worrying my mind, right, or I get distracted by concerns or worries or frustrations, or once I recognize that, I just stop for a minute and I just go, okay, I'm just going to draw my energy back down to my Dantian and just consciously imagine my whole energy just dropping into the Dantian. And I give the problem to the Dantian, as in I get the Dantian to tune into that resonant frequency field. And I don't try to come up with a solution. I just sit with it and just allow it to sit there, right? And wait for it to give me an answer.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I do. And then
Lovely.
once I sense an answer, and the answer is not going to come like the brain, which is words or specific, very practical things. It'll be mainly a sort of feeling, an energy, a sense, right? I just allow that to sit in my heart. Just let it sit there. The heart will start giving it form, right? It's a catalyzing alchemical process, and it starts to give it form. And then I allow it to sit in the brain, and the brain goes, right, here's the action to take. And it'll form an action based on that.
Okay.
But because it's coming from a more pure place, the action is going to be more pure, right? Than if it comes from out here and then it gets swirled in with all the other crap that's gone on in your life. The answer can't be pure. The answer can only be messed up with a whole lot of other things. And then is it the right answer? Is it the best way to handle something, the best way to go? Maybe not. Classic example, I was, dealing with a sort of a situation, and it was quite of an emotional situation. And my head was getting angry and frustrated with the situation. And it was getting confused because the brain gets confused very easy when it's the one trying to work it all out, because the brain's not designed to work it out. So it was getting confused. And then because the brain's job really is to give you a percentage weighting of something, right? It'll give you all of the possibilities. Well, you could do this, or you could do that, or you could do this, right? It's not designed to go, here's what you're doing, right? That's what the Dantian and Heart are designed for, not the brain. So my brain got into that space of, okay, well, you could do this. You could get really angry and yell and scream, or you could just forget all about it and just ignore that it happened, or you could do this or that, right? And I'm like, okay, this is just getting out of control because I don't know what to do. So I just meditated for a moment, just dropped it into my Dantian, and it just clear as day once it sort of filtered up into my heart as to what to do.
Beautiful.
And one word appeared, and I went, okay. And then I let my brain process the one word. In this case, it was one word, right? And the one word was love, right? And I went, okay, brain, process that. And the brain, in a much more calm way, just started to process love. Well, if it was love, then the brain goes, I would do this. Okay, great. Do that, brain, right? And the brain then went, well, the heart then went, as the love came up, the heart went, peace. I went, love and peace. So then I put that into the brain, and the brain went, well, if you were love and peace, if that's the answer, here's how we would execute the answer, right? Everything changed. No more anger, frustration, none of that. That all went.
Now you've given focus to the brain, whereas previously the brain's like, okay, well, we've got infinite number of possibilities. We've got this, but now you've gone, okay, but I only want the path that deals with love and peace.
Most harmonic. But the most harmonic path, right? That's the only question you're asking the gut.
Yeah.
What is harmonic or disharmonic? That's the only two things it ever asks, okay? So then, of course, you're going to ask what's the most harmonic, and it'll give you that, right? Like you said, now the brain's got a focal of action to take. Okay, it's about love and peace. I can do love and peace. I know how to do love and peace. It'll give you the actions for love and peace. Walk slower, talk slower, be calmer, be gentler, be nicer, whatever the words are, it'll give you the construct.
Given that probably is always the answer, can't we just bypass the first part and go straight to the brain and say, okay, I want a response based on love and peace?
You could, but it doesn't work, because if it's only going straight to the head, love isn't as simple as, you've been wounded by love. We've all been wounded by love. We've all had conditional love. We've all had, so then the brain gets caught in that. Whereas if it comes from the gut and then it goes into the heart and it's spun up, then the brain takes the harmonic of it. If you just say, well, love is the answer, brain do love, the brain will just lose its shit and go, but you were hurt by love, and then that girlfriend dropped you when you were 18, and then your dad never loved you and your mum doesn't love you. Do you know what I mean? All the shit starts to fly again. And you're back to where you started, because then the brain goes, well, love's not the answer. Here are all the possible answers, right? Well, you could love, angry love, you could cry love, you could scream love, you could, right? But when it comes from the purity, it's coming harmonically. And then the answer isn't actually love. The answer is the energy of whatever that is. We give it the word love once it gets to the heart, but it's the energy of that thing that comes through. So it is very different.
I love that.
And the answer's not always love, right? The answer, there's lots of different sort of answers and responses that come. Love is a primary one, of course, but there are other answers that appear and that come, and the brain just responds to that then.
That seems like a really simple instruction manual about what to do when you're confused. You close your eyes, you meditate, you go down into your Dantian, which is 2 fingers below your belly button, You give that Dantian the problem and ask for the solution. The solution will then come back through the heart, and you direct it to the mind.
Once it's done in the heart, yeah. And the heart
Mhm.
will often start to give it form, right? So when it comes from the Dantian, it's usually like a gut feel thing. And all you're feeling is harmony versus disharmony, right? And it'll come back as harmonic, right? And you let the harmony sit in the heart, and the heart will then start to give it some form, right? And sometimes it's a word, sometimes it's a vision, sometimes it's a sound, sometimes it's different. And then you place that, then you give that to the head. Okay, sort that out, head,
Mm,
and then it'll sort it
beautiful.
out. It'll give you
I
the
love it.
actions to take and the things to do. So
So
yeah,
simple, really. The most complex issues have
yeah,
got the most simple answers, and we just
exactly.
overcomplicate everything with our
All the
mind.
time. Yeah, exactly. So
Everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. All right. Well, I hope that helps. Yay.
Thank you so much, Marcus and Ameed.
Oh, thank you. Yay. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Galactic Guidance. We hope that the messages that you receive from the higher realms have brought you clarity, insight, and comfort. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Remember to stay connected to your own inner guidance and trust the journey ahead.